How's it going? Welcome to another Martian Minute. I'm just going to get right into it. I've tried to record this video. I'm using my cell phone, not my video camera, and I have a limit to how long I can make it. So I'm going to try again and be a little bit quicker this time, okay? This is something I have thought about a lot over the years, and um, I'm going to use parables today. Even the title of this video is a parable, okay? And that's not, there's nothing wrong with that. Jesus Christ himself used parables a lot to explain things that way people could at least get the concepts seated in them, and then later, the full realization can happen. And often in the New Testament, when it talks about the Old Testament, it says that these things happen so that you would know, or these things were a sign. And God can do things and accomplish multiple purposes at the same time. He can give his word or his commandments and do something with that. But it can also be a sign, hundreds to thousands of years later, of what he was going to do next. And all the prophecies in the Old Testament that point to Jesus, is a great example of that, okay? So the parable I'm going to use today is time travel, okay? And there's a bug flying around here. I've tried to kill it, and I haven't succeeded. So if you see it, just, it's bothering me too, okay? Just try and ignore it. Time travel. And I'm just trying to find common ground, okay? And I know that the majority of people who watch this video have seen movies or read books that deal with time travel. And the most popular theory out there, I'm just going to call it the Martin McFly theory, okay? And it really, if you watch any of the original Star Treks, it's the same thing. Where, and let's just take Back to the Future. And I'm just using that because I know people are familiar with it. The concept is the present, which is 1985. Someone travels to the past and they change things, and it's changed the timeline all the way into 1985 and beyond, okay? And then Marty has to go into the past and fix it so that it doesn't alter the timeline, okay? However, as popular as that is, and it's great for making movies and stuff, time travel is just a theory, okay? That can't be true, okay? It logically cannot be true. And I'm going to start this video on time travel, and later I'm going to reveal something to you, so just try and follow me. So there's another movie out there called The Time Traveler's Wife. Not as popular as, Back to the Future movies. And it's really a love story, but the time travel part of it is radically different than the Back to the Future movies or the Marty McFly time travel theory, okay? Just to create a whole new term, I guess, since I'm at it, the time traveler's wife theory is actually something that makes more sense. And I'm just going to give you an example. I'm holding in my hand, a cheap blue ink pen. Now let's just pretend that you have the ability to time travel, okay? And you're watching this video right now, and I'm holding this blue pen, and you decide, I'm going to time travel back before this video is made and steal that blue pen, okay? However, and I'm pretending that we're just pretending that you actually can time travel, okay? That this is actually something that you can do. I'm holding the pen right now, which means that you didn't time travel back and take it, okay? And let me really explain that, okay? Because remember, we're pretending you actually can time travel. You may have traveled back in time with the intention of taking this blue pen. But I have the evidence right here that you failed, okay? And that's really what's happening in the Time Traveler's Wife movie. Because the whole the nexus of that movie is that car crash, and that changed everything about this guy's life, and he time travels throughout the whole movie, and he a lot of times he goes back to that car crash, but he's never able to stop the crash from happening. And the idea that you should get from that is that, yeah, he's capable of time travel, but he can't change anything because it already happened, okay? So let's say that tomorrow, we're pretending you can time travel. Tomorrow, you're going to time travel into the past, and you're going to try to take this blue pen, okay? The past has already happened. And so you even though you right now are not going to time travel till tomorrow, you're going back into the time that's in the past. That time's already happened. You're going to drive yourself crazy trying to steal this blue pen because you can't do it. Because I have the evidence right here that you didn't do it. And you can try 1,000 times. It's never going to happen because I got the pen. You can't change what's already happened. Now, does that mean you don't have free will? We're pretending you can time travel, okay? We got to keep reminding ourselves of that. Do you not have free will? Is that the reason? Is time sovereign and your free will cannot take this pen? That is not the case. This pen, the fact that I have it, is merely evidence that even with your free will, you didn't get it, okay? I don't know what happened. Maybe you time traveled and changed your mind. Maybe you time traveled and got locked in an elevator. Or I don't know what happened. All I do know is that I got the pen, and the past has already happened. And no matter how many times you went back into the past to get the pen, I have the evidence that you failed. You did not get the pen. Okay, you had free will. You went in the past and you did things, but you didn't get the pen. That's all I'm saying. So even we're pretending you can time travel. I know I said that 800 times, but this is kind of a crazy video. I don't really like to do crazy ones, I guess, because you got a chance of looking like an idiot. So we're pretending that you can time travel. Now you can go back and do all kind of things, but you've already gone back and done them, even though you haven't. Okay, so I've explained all of this time travel stuff, and I really got to speed it up, okay? But no matter how well I explain it, no matter what movies come out or books or what the scientists or theorists come up with, none of us can really understand time because we're on we're on the road of time right now. I like Martian right now, so let's just say we're on the Martian road, okay? And we all know that time flows in a certain direction, the direction we're going, not just us, the direction the planets are going and the stars and the direction I'm moving this pen. Everything's flowing in time and in space-time in a particular at a particular rate and in a particular direction, what we would call from present to future, okay? And I've explained all of that as best as I can. However, there's only one being in the universe who can truly understand what I'm talking about, and of course I'm a Christian. That person is God, because he's omniscient, he knows everything, he's omnipresent, he's present everywhere, and he's omnipotent, he's got all power, okay? Now God, I just explained the three main characteristics of God. He's at all places, at all times, he's got all power, and he's got all knowledge. That means God is sovereign, okay? And when I mean sovereign, I mean in not like the king of Judah or the king of Assyria or the president of the United States or the Constitution or any of that. I mean God-like sovereignty, which is unquestionable. You can't outrun him because he's everywhere. Okay, you can't outsmart him because he knows everything, and you can't, out wrestle him because he's all powerful. Okay. So I started with time travel, and you can see I'm going somewhere. The time travel was really a parable. All right. God is sovereign. Okay. Now, however, we have this thing called free will. Each person has free will. I can choose to hold this pen right now. I can choose to set it down. Okay. Now I'm living in existence. I'm in this video. Okay. In a sense. Okay. I'm in this room. I'm on this earth. I'm hurtling around the sun right now. I'm in the Milky Way galaxy. The stars, the galaxies, the atoms in this ink pen. I'm just gonna throw a number out there. The trillion atoms that are in this ink pen right now. Okay, that is all within God's sovereignty right now. Now, so how do I have free will? How do I move this pen around and not say that that's God because of his sovereignty? How do you get around saying, that God isn't making me move the pen because he's sovereign? Okay. And that's a big question that's been around for a long time, and you could really break it into two groups, the Arminians and the Calvinists, okay? And I have Calvinist friends. I have people on Facebook who are Calvinists, and I have Arminian friends, and I'll be the first to tell you that the Calvinists are far better at explaining Calvinism and their belief in it than the Arminians are. Far, far better, and that's just the truth, okay? And I'm not a Calvinist, all right? I'm just being an honest observer. Most Arminians who I think are probably Arminians don't even know what that means, okay? And that's just reality, okay? I'm not going to judge any of it because I got to have a short video today, I promise you. All right, so I started with time travel, the Martian road, the flow of time, and God has sovereign presence. He's in this room right now. He was in this room before I came into this room. He was in the room that I was born in the instant I was born nearly 37 years ago. He is right now in the room that I'm going to die in the future, which I don't know. He's there right now. He's present everywhere at all times, okay? And I can't really explain that to you as well as I'd like to, because I'm not God. That's like a totally different worldview, a perception that I'm capable of having or comprehending, okay? That doesn't mean I can't try to. The Bible tells us to seek God and to study the breadth and the depth and the width and the length and all of that, okay? There's a part of the Bible I got to in my first attempt to do this video, and I ran out of time. I'm going to try and go back to it, and I'm just going to have to do cliff notes, okay? And it's 2 Kings chapter 19. This is the king of Assyria, Sennacherib. He wrote a letter to the king of Judah, Hezekiah, okay? And the reason I'm picking this story is because of free will. And not just free will, I meant to say faith, all right? Sennacherib is the king of Assyria. You may not know it, but Assyria was the original terrorists. They didn't just come and fight you. They brutalized you. They would brutalize the bodies of the armies they defeated. They would do horrible things to the wives and the children of the army they defeated whenever they broke through the gates. I mean, everyone had in the known world, who's close enough to the Assyrians at this time, was terrified that the Assyrians were going to come and mess them up, okay? And Sennacherib, the terror so real, okay? That Sennacherib writes this letter to the king of Judah. Because if you look at it on paper, if you look at the army that Judah had, and you compared it to Sennacherib's army, you look at the allies that Assyria had, and you compare it to the allies that Judah had. If you look at the quality of the weapons or the training of the soldiers, Judah had no business fielding an army against the Assyrians because it wasn't going to go well for them. Everybody knew that. And he sends this letter basically. I'm going to read that part. The letter says, "Don't let your God, whom you trust, deceive you by promising that Jerusalem will not be handed over to the king of Assyria. Look, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all the countries. They completely destroyed them. Will you be rescued?" And then he lists all the nations that his predecessors had destroyed, not just him. And then the reason I'm mentioning that is because faith, which we know in Hebrews is the evidence of wait, let me just go there. I don't want to word it incorrectly. Faith is the assurance or reality of what is hoped for, the proof or evidence of what is not seen, okay? That's a great definition that I can't fully comprehend, okay? Because it's dealing in some unknown. And just listen to it again. Faith is the assurance or reality of what is hoped for, the proof or evidence of what is not seen. And I want you to realize that it's not just believers in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob who live on faith. It's also non-believers, okay? This world we live in requires faith. And the way he words that is he's saying, look, you have heard what my predecessors have done to all the country. They don't lose, okay? He's got plenty of evidence or proof that his threat is real. And he sent this letter telling Hezekiah, don't even try and fight me. Just go ahead and start paying us tribute and swearing allegiance to me as one of my vassals. And he had good reason to say that because up to this point, he hasn't lost. His father, I'm assuming his father was king for him. I didn't research it. He hasn't lost. The kings before him haven't lost. Their methods of warfare were proven to be quite effective. So he put his faith in that. Okay, now Hezekiah gets this letter. He takes it to the temple and he lays it before God. And he prays to God, spare your people. But he words it in a unique way, at a different mindset. And he words it, God, that these threats are against you. He's saying, don't let you deceive me. So I need you to defend your people and defend your own honor and glory from the threats of this person, okay? That's the premise. So both people, both kings are using faith. Hezekiah put his faith in God. And he had good evidence for that because, you know, his predecessors put their faith in God all the way back to Abraham. And God had been faithful back, okay? So his faith, and he's hoping, he's got his hope in this. So both definitions work for both sides, okay? Now I'm going to go to where God responds in verse 22, chapter 19. And this is God speaking through the prophet Isaiah. Yeah, Isaiah. Who is it you mocked and blasphemed? Against whom have you raised your voice and lifted your eyes in pride? Against the Holy One of Israel. You have mocked the Lord through your messages. Now you drop down to 25 and it says, have you not heard? That's basically what Sennacherib said to Hezekiah. Haven't you heard? He says, have you not heard? I designed it long ago. I planned it in days gone by. I have now brought it to pass. He's talking about God's mentioning his sovereignty, okay? That even though, you know, this king, he put his faith in what he's done and what his predecessors done for Assyria, and he puts his faith in that, and God's saying, no, you have not escaped my sovereignty, okay? Nothing happened that was outside of my plan. He's mentioning his sovereignty. Now drop down to 27. And it says, I know you're sitting down, you're going out, and you're coming in, and you're raging against me. Okay? God's saying, I know everything. I see everything. I know everything that you're doing now, that you're planning to do. God's basically saying, I see all possibilities, and I know the choices you're going to make, and that's where I'm going to be. If we imagine choices being forks in a road, I can do either of these things, and each one's going to lead me down a certain path. God already knows the one you're taking, so he puts all his effort into that one, okay? And then you compound that with trillions and trillions of people. And I'm just talking about people. There's so much more out there. And that's how God's sovereignty, his plan, knows the choices we freely make. And his plan is not thwarted when we make our choices, okay, even though we have free will. So in 27, he says, I know where you sit down. I know you're going out. Now look at what he does in 28. Because you rage against me and your arrogance has reached my ears, I will put my hook in your nose and my bit in your mouth. I will make you go back the way you came, okay? And this is where, I started with time travel. I was really talking about sovereign will and free will. I mentioned Calvinism briefly, very briefly. I'm not explaining it. I don't have time. And I mentioned Arminianism. Now right here, notice he says, I will put my hook in your nose, meaning he didn't have the hook in his nose before. But God's just using words to explain something. I'll put my bit in your mouth. Now, this is just talking about farm and domesticated animals. You put a hook or a ring in the nose of an animal to keep them from rooting their way out of a pen, okay? A pen, an enclosure. Now these are domesticated animals. You put that in their nose to keep them from digging under the fence. Okay. Now the bit in your mouth. You put a bit in the mouth of a horse, or like a donkey. Okay, or a mule, and that or an ox, and that bit is the way that you control them and you make them go down the path that you want them to go down. Now, this is God saying that he's interfering with free will. Sennacherib's will is to conquer Judah. Okay? And God's basically telling him, because of the choices you made, because of the threats you said, and because they were against me, I'm going to interfere. And I'm going to make you go back the way you came. Now that's against his wishes. This is God directly interfering with man's free will. But notice the tense. He said, now I'm going to. Now I'm going to, okay? And I'm almost out of time, which is disappointing. All right, so I'm just got to leave you with that idea. What am I getting at? My explanation of time travel, was my way of telling you my explanation of free will and sovereign will. Okay, I do have free will. Okay, I do make choices, but I'm still on the Martian road. I guess I'll just keep that term. I'm still on God's sovereign will. I'm still flowing the way God is going, because he's already at the end of it. He was already at the beginning of it. He's at every moment of it. He knows the whole thing. So because of that knowledge that he has, because of that power that he has, because of that presence that he has, every single person can have free will. Can have it. Really do. I believe every person has free will to make choices that may not be the choices that God would want you to make, okay? But they have it. However, because of God's sovereignty, he knows the choices before I was ever born, before Adam was ever made in the Garden of Eden, before the planets even existed. God knew every choice I was going to make. Therefore, because of his power, because of who he is, he can see all possibilities, okay? And he can, at every fork in the road where I make choices, he knows the one I'm taking. He doesn't extend any effort on the other ones. This is where God is going to be, okay? And because, it's hard to fathom that for one person. Multiply that with the trillions of people who are alive now, plus the trillions who lived before now, and then multiply that times the choices that they've made in their lives, okay? You can see that none of us can comprehend that. But God can. Not only can he already has, because of the nature of who God is. So I don't have a problem with Calvinists. I don't have a problem with Arminians. And I don't want them to have a problem with me. If they do, they do. But I'm neither, okay? Because what I just explained isn't really Arminianism. And it isn't really Calvinism. And I'm not ducking it, okay? I've looked into these things. I don't want to be on the wrong side. However, I don't see where I need to be on either side here, okay? I'm not making this video as an excuse to get people to leave me alone or something. Have whatever opinion you want, okay? This is my opinion, and I guess I need a name for it. I'm just going to call it the Martian Road theory, okay, whatever. And I got it from different places, you know, different people, you know, and I believe God spoke to me and has led me. Should I say that? Would you prefer that? God has led me to where I'm at now, and it may change. You know, this is a developing thing for me, and I like it. I like it, and I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable with it. And if you can understand what I was talking about with the time travel, okay, I meant it as a parable. The same holds true to me for free will, okay? And I can't, no matter how many of these videos I made, no matter how many intelligent people agreed with me, I can't fully explain it. I mean, if there's anything that I can't fully comprehend it. And if there's anything in the Bible that you can't fully explain and you can't comprehend, this one's it. And there's people who tried, and you know, they fit into certain groups. And I've heard the arguments. I've read the books. I've watched the debates, and I've, you know, I promise you. And I haven't been totally convinced of, in this instance, Arminianism or Calvinism. And if you're really honest about what I said, there's some Calvinism in what I'm talking about. There's some Arminianism in what I'm talking about. And I'm really just laying it out there, okay? And I'm just going to call it the Martian Road theory. And if you think that's crazy, you ain't seen nothing yet, because I'm a bit off the rocker sometimes, okay? Now, I may never mention this again in my videos. It's not something that I feel is, you know, most of these videos are about the gospel message. And that's one of the things I want to say right now. We can't let, you know, and I think theology is important. I think doxology is important. I think doctrine is very important. And I want to be right. I don't want to be wrong, okay? But we can't, especially if it's something we've been in disagreement with for 600-700 years. I'm just throwing that number out there. And we know it's I mentioned on here before, borderline Christianity, or as C.S. Lewis would say, and I disagree with C.S. Lewis a lot about a lot of things, but there's some things I do agree with, that he's far beyond, you know, the average man, and his mere Christianity is the way he would have worded it, okay? There is a bottom floor to our faith that we need to recognize. We all come in through the same gate, Jesus Christ, and the former who becomes a Christian, and he never really gets into the deeper parts of Scripture, is still a Christian, okay? And then the scientist who goes to the big universities and becomes a Christian, and then later, becomes a theologian or something. I'm just throwing this stuff out there. Hey, he's a Christian too, all right? And I'm not saying that, I say all the time to get in your word and read it. I'm not encouraging anyone to remain ignorant about things simply for ignorance sake. I'm not encouraging that. But I do recognize that there's a lot of times that we disagree about things, and we don't even recognize that we're all brothers and sisters in faith at the gate of Christ. All right, and I'm out of time, and I'm okay with this video. There's no way I could have possibly watched it already, but I think I did my best job at it, and in the future I'll come back to it. And the reason I made it today, my son, my 10-year-old, asked me a question about time travel, and I had the opportunity today, so I made it. So there it is. I laid it out there, and I pray you enjoyed it. At least I pray that you at least think about it, okay? And feel free to comment or whatever. But God bless you, and we'll see you again.